September 12, 2019 Planning Board, call to order. Who's taking?
I'll take the
Dennis, want to take the roll?
roll. Member Burke.
Present.
Member Long.
Present.
Member Zuccarelli.
Present.
Member Blaney.
Present.
Secretary Keith absent. Vice Chair Finnerty present. Chair is present.
We have a quorum. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the absence of the secretary, we don't have any minutes. So, what, we have a work session, Claire, so we'll close the general portion and go into a work session.
So the first one on the agenda for the work session is called Crossroads at Atlantic. It's also known as Goodwater Farm. They were approved with 5 agricultural greenhouses. Only one has been constructed in CO. The other 4, I think, are in construction. And the applicant is represented here to discuss further development, additional greenhouses to be placed on the property.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Jody Giglio of Bennett Enterprises with offices at 1600 Caleb's Path Extension, Hauppauge, New York, here on behalf of the applicant, Crossroads Atlantic LLC. So, as Claire has stated, the applicant does have several greenhouses under construction at this time. The total area of the parcel is 1,428,401 square feet, with 10% of greenhouse space, which is permitted for ag production. He would be entitled to build 142,840 square feet of greenhouse space. Currently, there is 4,053 square foot barn and 23,520 square feet of greenhouses under construction that was previously approved by this board. The applicant is seeking to install the additional 115,267 square feet of greenhouse space. And we are here seeking advice from the planning board as to which direction to go. We have the surveyor that is coming out to the property the first day in or the first week in October. He will give us an updated survey showing where the greenhouses that are under construction are currently built. There is also ag housing on the property that the survey will be updated, and we will get all the permits necessary to legalize that ag worker housing that is currently there with Suffolk County Department of Health Services. That's not on the survey right now, but it's been there apparently.
There's a barn there. I don't.
Oh, no
there's
ag labor housing.
There's no ag labor housing.
Well, there's not any permitted on the property at all.
Well, hold up, let's back up a
Right.
second. The barn was built.
Yes.
That was under
Recent, right?
Yes.
COP of the planning board, and it was an agricultural barn. It didn't have any agricultural labor housing
No.
component to it. And then to do so now, we'd have to look at very closely at the easements
Yes.
around property. So,
Certainly.
yeah, so if there is ag labor housing occurring on the property now, please have them vacate. We will give them a violation tomorrow.
Okay. So the barn is currently being used. They do have a commercial kitchen for the greens, the microgreens.
What is the micro?
That is the edible microgreens that are an accessory to a meal, so it makes the plate look nice. It's the edible orchids, the edible, they have pickle fingers is what they're called, and things of that nature.
So they're doing food preparation in the barn?
Well, they have a permit for a commercial kitchen from Ag and Markets for what's happening in the barn.
I don't know, did we ever see that? We just approved the buildings, I remember when
It's
this
under Ag
came
and
in.
Markets.
This is for the Grabowski farm.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it goes,
Yeah.
if you can, prep for sale, I would think you
Yeah,
could.
I mean, like Like
put into
harvest
products,
and wash
into
and package.
package.
Yes.
I would imagine you could, and I think that's probably what
We
it,
should get an
Is that
interior layout.
agricultural use though? I mean,
We were going to do that. We are going to be
Yeah,
filing an
interesting. I don't
application.
know.
We are going to be filing an application with the fire marshal for a farm stand in the barn.
For a farm stand.
Yes.
So that means bringing traffic in, bringing cars in.
Well,
But this
well,
is,
that-
all right, the whole,
farm stands are permitted.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
come before us.
Right.
But I'm just thinking of food preparation operation. I'm not sure that falls under the.
I haven't come
Claire,
across it.
I'm just a little confused. We have a barn, we have greenhouses. What else is going on this property? Can you give us a summary of everything that's going on?
Well, they do have the ag housing there.
Where do you have the ag housing?
The survey is going to be updated to show that.
Where, well, can you
not
give us an
permitted.
idea where it is?
It's in this vicinity over here, I believe.
So you've built buildings?
I think it's a modular. It's something that was brought in that could be taken off.
you just heard what Claire said.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to look into that with all the easements and the covenants and everything and try and get the permitted use for that because it is somebody that's working on the farm that would be living there.
I mean, a good place to start is an updated survey showing all structures and all activities that are taking place. So
Yes.
the labor housing showed in that structure. the
Yes.
Food preparation going on in the barn, show that one.
Yeah, they have all the permits from Ag and Markets that are hanging on the wall in the barn for the food processing.
Yeah, but
But that's
they don't
something
have
different.
town
Yeah, we're a town
permits.
permit.
Permissible town uses.
Oh,
I don't know if food preparation is a permissible use on the I mean, the cultivation, the growing and cultivation of crops certainly is, but conceivably, if you do food preparation, you might be making bakery products, bring flour and confection, and then baking pies and stuff. That would-
yes.
So,
That is what the proposal is, and that's what we'll be filing with the fire marshal.
okay.
What
But
if-
I don't know, we have to look at the language of the easement to see what allowable uses are.
Right. So it has to come through this board first.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'm putting out there
It's
everything
site
that we
plan.
want to do on the property so that you're fully aware of it and you can advise us as to where you would like to see these things on the property and whether or not there would be any buffering. I know that Claire had shared with me when they had come in initially for these greenhouses that the neighbors were concerned, and we certainly want to be cognizant of that and mitigate anything that would disturb any of the neighbors.
Just talk to us about the greenhouses, what they're going to be used for. Do you have one built already and you want,
They currently have approval from the planning board for these 5 greenhouses of 4,700 square feet each. They have a building permit from the building department to build out these
when
greenhouses.
did we give that approval, Claire, do we know?
Well, it should be on the plan, actually. Was this a copy? So,
Yes.
March 10th, 2016.
16.
And it was extended administratively for the approval to allow them to build the additional.
Administratively, okay, so we didn't necessarily,
Well, you approved
We approved the
the
five.
5, and they didn't complete the 5 within the 2-year period, so an extension was granted.
And those are currently under construction.
the rest of them.
Yes.
So what are they being used for, to grow these microgreens?
Yes,
Are they year-round greenhouses?
yes,
I'm just curious, the microgreens is a plant?
yes.
Right. Can it be sold as a plant, basically, or does it have to be always sold as a addendum to a restaurant used on their plates?
I will get that answer for you.
The restaurants use them a lot.
Yes, the restaurants do use them.
Decorations, those
Well,
little
it's
things.
state law, anything on a plate must be edible. That's why they need.
They are, they're edible. That's what
Yeah.
microgreens are.
That's the law.
Yeah. it's edible.
I'd like to go back to the housing that's on there. Clearly, there's a bathroom. What's going with septic?
Suffolk County Department of Health Services is reviewing it. So once the surveyor actually plots it, then,
But
So
Jody,
you-
you understand the cart's before the horse here? You understand that?
understood. I'm just getting involved in this project
Okay,
for
so-
about 30 days. I think I came into Claire 30 days ago and foiled this map and foiled all the information, so I'm just coming on board.
And we're glad you're
Glad
here.
you're
Yeah,
here,
we're,
Yes.
Glad to see you.
so that
So-
you don't go
yeah,
further.
Yes.
I'd like to know how many people are living there, how many children are living here, are they,
No children are living there. There's one ag worker that was staying there, but he is, until we get everything legalized and get everything squared away with the planning board, get everything squared away with the health department, nobody's living there.
All right, because you can understand our concern.
Of
that
course.
There's nothing here, and now there
We're
is.
available for a
Does the
future
housing
work
have to-
session.
Yeah.
Once you have the survey updated, Jody, and all the uses.
Certainly.
And if you mentioned you want a farm stand, so
Yes.
where would the farm stand be?
Every
In the
easement's
barn.
The
different.
access to,
Every easement's
access.
different, so we'd
I
have
mean,
to
is it
specifically look at
retail or
the
wholesale?
It's going to be just like any other farm stand, where it says farm stand, and it'll say microgreens, and you can drive down the road,
Okay,
this,
so this is a
road here.
long access road. There's
We'd need
no, there's
think
parking for 5 spaces.
So, no, gotta look.
Parking for 5 spaces. Retail access to the farm stand would have to be up this long road.
or
Yeah,
it could be in
We
this
have
area
only
here.
5 spaces.
Well, remember, we don't review farm stands.
Well, we do we have to cite it properly.
Yeah.
on the- We'll have to cite it.
Yeah.
I think we have to look back as to what the purposes of those greenhouses were when we initially approved it, to understand and see if those purposes have changed. Because it sounds like it has changed
Big
from,
operation, yeah.
I don't know if it was supposed to be wholesale before, or retail, or
oh, definitely all wholesale.
it was all
I mean,
wholesale. So
wholesale.
now it's trying to become retail.
Well, farm stand. But I do have a letter from Long Island Farm Bureau that I'd like to submit to each of you in support of the application, and what he's looking to do is just build out the greenhouse space that is the 10% of the entire lot area. So as I said, he is entitled to build, and even in my discussions with Claire, another 115,267 square feet of greenhouse space. So that'll
In
be,
addition to what he has, including the farm, or
In addition.
In addition.
Is the rest of the reserve in production?
there is, some of the property is in production, this area here, but most of the microgreens are indoor because they are,
No, that I understand, the rest of it, because the microgreens will be only in the greenhouses.
yes. So yes, the property is in ag production. And here are the copies of letters of support from the Farm Bureau. Everything that's occurring on the property is ag related.
What else is growing on the property? Just out of curiosity.
I got that answer for you, but
It says cultivated.
So Claire, you can pull the 2016 approval to see
Yeah.
what we said.
absolutely.
And
I
you're
have a
saying,
copy of that for you, if you'd like
you're
to see
saying
it.
the farm stand is for retail and wholesale? I mean, the retail is for,
We're gonna do whatever you tell us we're allowed to do. Claire is telling me if she's saying that it can only be wholesale, then we'll have to take that into consideration, but he would like to have a farm stand as every other farm has, where they sell their products that they're growing on the farm.
Right, which is a farm stand permit you get from the fire marshal.
Yes.
And it's a very small area there, you see them in the summer, and probably would only operate in the summer, I'm sure.
Here's the previous approval if you'd like to take a look at it.
well, we're not going to look at it.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, we'll have it for the process. So, so you're going to get an updated survey. I guess your main question is if they're going forward with the ag greenhouses, where would you like to see them?
Where
That's
are
what, yeah, and I think consolidated as much as
Yes.
possible on the property would be, make sense, right?
So that we don't fragment the rest of the ag space, yeah.
Certainly. So I was seeking advice from you because I know that on, one side of the property, they were more boisterous at the public hearing than the other side of the property. So we're willing to, mitigate, whether it be with buffering or other things of that nature, to not upset the neighbors, or if you wanted the greenhouses situated to one side, away from them or closer to them, and with some sort of hedgerow. So
Yeah, I mean, this survey doesn't show anything but this property, so where the these other pieces of property that are the closest to where the barn and the greenhouses are, where's the property lines? Are there houses there? Where are they?
It's all surrounded by residential.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's looking for the placement of the houses to
Yeah,
to give an idea.
because I'm talking about all of this.
Can you, here,
All of,
Do you have the aerial up?
Yeah, the aerial is,
Gloria.
yeah, I do, but I was hiding it with, with the map.
But
Sorry.
it would be appropriate to show that on your construction permit application, definitely.
Yeah, can you see that?
yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so
So,
it looks,
Show where adjacent houses are.
it looks
so you
like-
want us to survey all the houses?
No,
and the-
just
You can
place them.
Take it from the aerial. I mean, it doesn't have to be used for
Show
exact.
Residents.
Just
Yeah.
show the
You know,
residents.
sort of.
Because
Yeah.
that access road, if it's not just a wholesale, you know, those trucks and cars are going to be driving right by on that long access road.
And
So-
with building more greenhouses, you're going to have more trucks and more commotion on the property.
Right.
Well, agriculture is a commercial use.
Yeah, yeah,
Commercial operation.
yeah. I'm just concerned about the housing.
So the previous approval does say no area devoted to retail sales or outdoor display is permitted. So I don't know if that was in the conservation easement or if that was a recommendation from the planning board for the past special permit.
Sounds like a condition.
It's, yeah, and it's definition of agricultural greenhouses.
Okay.
So, you know, the town permits the retail as a small component of property related to farm stands, which is a separate permit. So,
Right, and that's through the fire marshal, the one that I was talking about.
yes, exactly.
So it seems like there's some contradiction as far as the special permit approval and,
No. So that's what happens on the property, except for the farm stands. The farm stand does allow the retail on a small scale, you
On
know.
a small scale.
Whatever the requirements are, which I think is a couple hundred square feet or whatever the
Yeah.
requirements are, so.
But is it, most of his business is probably being done to restaurants, I would think.
yes, yes.
So that's a commercial wholesale selling. So how does that square? I mean, what does she need to do? That's not permitted, right?
Uh,
Is it permitted? Is-
Wholesale, yes.
Wholesale is
Yes.
permitted.
And retail for possibly a
Farm
couple
stand,
hundred square
yeah.
feet for a farm stand.
Right.
The last one we did on head of the pond lane, the white one, was actually a tractor storage barn where they had farm stand associated with it. So,
But this is a big operation, though. I mean, this will be now 10 greenhouses, right?
Well, we're,
5 plus 5 more, or?
No,
there's 114,000 square feet more that he's entitled to build under the 10%.
Is he going to?
Right now, he wants to get the approval from the planning board for the full build-out, but I don't think that he's going to go in and build all of that square footage at this time.
So what is the square footage total?
So if you go by the square footage in the existing, which is 25,000-ish right now, they can do 114,000 more, then you're talking
So
about,
4 times more of that, yeah.
yeah, at least, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Okay, well,
With you next week, I'll get here before.
So because the surveyor is going out and he's going to locate everything that's on the property, I'm just trying to get an idea from you where we should be putting these 4 additional blocks of greenhouses.
well, it's a little premature. I think we need, as I said before, we're gonna need the survey of the existing conditions. So we can decide what's allowed, what's not allowed, and then we can help you locate. So that you're saying that's gonna be done next month?
First week in October.
Okay. As soon as you have that, I mean, we can.
we'll do
come
another
to
work session.
Another
Okay.
work session.
Because he really wanted to start building them in November.
We'll pull the agricultural easement.
They're gonna
and
have
what
to be
that
up,
says. It may require a discussion with the town board. So we'll see.
So there'll be a discussion with the town board?
Could be, depending on the language in that easement,
Okay.
whether or not that ag housing is.
Yeah, because I had asked for all of the documentation. I actually foiled all the documentation relative to this file, and I didn't get a copy of an easement, so.
It's an agricultural reserve, right?
This is an ag reserve.
Because we did a
It's
construction.
an ag reserve.
Yeah, so I had foiled all the information, but I didn't get all the information. This is
Sometimes
the only
the-
thing that I got.
Jody,
Must be on the
sometimes
title
the Yeah,
you look
Jody,
at the title
sometimes,
report?
yeah, the easements aren't, but the town doesn't have sometimes a copy of them. Go back to the title company and tell them to pull, they might not have a copy of it there. No, if you, I don't know where you were looking, but I would
Betty
go and pull.
Grabatsky. Yeah, when you
Yeah,
would
I'd go
go for
back
the
to-
map of Betty Grabatsky, you would pull this map. That would have the easement in it. That is how it was created, 1985.
That was an early.
He had a few maps on Mitchell, he had one across the street.
Right.
Actually, I think one came, like one side came in at one side, like.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
and
I
this
know
was-
across the street
developed,
came in later, then
Yeah.
there's another one still on Mitchell.
So Joe, do you know what you need?
Well, I'll know once I get the easement language that was put on the property.
Yeah, that would outline what restrictions there are, what you can do, can't do.
But you're already functioning with a temporary housing.
Well, we don't know
Yeah,
that.
she said that.
We need to survey.
She said there's a temporary building.
So I will get a copy of the easement, and then I will be back to talk to you at the next work session.
With the survey too, right?
And the survey.
An updated survey. So the surveyor should be going out, and then in the first week in October, so hopefully we'll have that in the second week in October, and I know that he wanted to get started on the greenhouses right away, and he's not looking to do the build out right now, but eventually he would like to do that.
So the November is not a really realistic date. We'd have to have a construction permit application with a public hearing. And at a minimum, it takes about 4 months process from the time you submit a complete application.
Okay.
To have a public hearing.
Yeah,
hearing.
so you're looking at
Definitely.
spring.
Yeah, so I was under the impression that with agricultural properties, that process is somewhat streamlined.
That is streamlined.
Believe it or not.
It's streamlined.
That is the stream.
So,
That's fast track.
so if I get the application in mid-October, then I can have a
Well, you're-
public hearing in mid-November.
Yeah, you're allowed to
Get a
submit,
decision then in January, beginning of January. So that is correct, that's a good timeframe.
but you're allowed to submit an application laying out where you want the greenhouses.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in for the respect of the board to, I know that there was some controversy the last time that the 5 greenhouses came in, so I wanted you to be aware of it. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to weigh in as to where we put the greenhouses so that we can be respectful of the board and your situation and also the neighbors. So that's why I wanted to come to you first, but I'm ready to, file the application as soon as I get the survey done. And I'll be on the phone with the surveyor this afternoon, seeing if we can get him out there
You tell us
sooner.
where you want the greenhouses, but be mindful that if you put them in the wrong location, you're gonna have a lot of attorneys in here, you're gonna have lawsuits.
We want it
They'll want you
clustered.
2 years from now.
We're gonna cluster them
Yeah.
to where
Because
the other greenhouses in the barn are,
Because
of
the-
course.
The point is that if that piece of the business goes away, we want the integrity of the ag reserve preserved, which is as much farmable land as possible.
Certainly.
We don't want it broken up with, various roads and other buildings, so.
It doesn't make sense either for, the farmer to go walking hundreds of feet to get to another greenhouse. They want to all keep them together,
Together.
which is where the 5 are being built right now, all together. So it'll probably be the same scenario where 4 other of the 5 clusters will be built.
Claire,
So-
did you require that the temporary housing be removed, or just the people removed from the temporary housing?
Well, that's a separate permit. If you
Well-
want to make a separate permit for agricultural housing, that's gonna further hold the process, another public hearing.
Yeah,
So,
But we have
to
to
the
look
extent
at
that
the
it's
extent.
movable,
yeah.
may
To
wanna
the extent
remove it.
allowed, we have
Yeah.
to look at the easement and the language in the easement, because some easements clearly state
Can't you?
no ag labor, housing.
Well, housing,
Yeah.
residences, right?
So,
Yeah, I'm going to get on the phone with the attorney who closed on this property and ask him to get me a copy of the title report right away so I can take a look at that easement
Right, It's
language.
listed, I think it's Fidelity or something on the survey. All right, so you know what you need to do.
Yes, I
That's
do.
great. Thanks, Jody.
Thank you for taking the time to
back and
hear
be in touch
where
with
we're
Claire.
going with this, and then look forward to working with you on the project and making sure that it's in everybody's best interest.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Anthony, you have 1290 Flanders Road, work session?
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, it's nice to see you. Robert Merrick, 250 North Sea Road, Southampton.
I don't have much in
No, we have nothing on here. It's all there.
Yeah, it's all there.
No, they're there.
There's no there there.
For more copies? Oh.
So you can see from the aerial here,
Where are, locate us?
yep, we are in Flanders, on Flanders Road. And it's a pre-existing property, and actually it's 3 parcels there, in the R40 zoning district.
Is this Flanders sheet metal?
Yeah, what is,
Yeah. what-
sheet metal?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
This is, so there you go.
you drive up and down the road all the time.
So they have a pre-existing CO for automotive repair, and then the other for offices, storage, and workshop, special trade contractor for all intents and purposes. And the and you can see the site there. It's sort of a little bit,
You.
yeah. They're looking to do a change from one non-conforming use to another. I'm going to have Rob explain for the automobile that's no longer there. And in the process, they'd like to redevelop the property with, what you can see on the survey, with parking and formalized parking and hopefully some access points. The plan still shows a big, wide, open curb cut along the highway. And I think like during the site plan review process, obviously, we would want the design to close it up. But before Rob goes to the zoning board, he wanted to present to the board a concept plan that shows that they would be expanding the parking, formalizing it, in the process to change the use from the automotive to whatever it is Rob's
So
proposing.
2 questions. Are they merging the properties?
We would like to. I believe by operation of law, they probably merged years ago when it was upzoned, because I do believe that they were held in single ownership.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're still showing 3 tax lots, but very likely that they merged through zoning, yeah.
And are there C of Os on
Yep.
on these businesses?
Yep.
Up-to-date COs?
Yes.
So,
So, we all shop in Riverhead. And while the building and that property is not an eyesore by any stretch of the imagination, particularly considering the area, the client would like to bring it in to, have more of a look that fits in with the surrounding area by having some formalized parking, maybe close off the front with some nice bushes and some
street trees?
landscaping, figure out our access points. The side property and the rear property have been, at various points in its existence, used as overflow, for lack of a better term, for the 2 businesses that were there. And if he has to, he could live with he's a very easygoing client. He could live with the garage repair place, but really, he would rather just have that as office space. And the building to the right, as you look at it, is nearly twice the size, essentially twice the size of the building that we're looking to turn into office space.
Is that repair?
That's the repair.
That's the repair
Yes,
now.
2-bay repair. It has 1 bathroom. We want to maintain the 1 bathroom and just add a few offices in there.
May I ask, the concrete slabs, when I see concrete slabs and I see gas station, I think about in-ground tanks. Were there ever oil tanks on this property?
Oh, it was a gas station, and in the file, if you want to see it now, or I could send it over to Anthony.
Yeah.
But I do have, when it was remediated back in early 70s.
So were the tanks removed, or?
The tanks were moved and tested, and Suffolk County Health Department went there and tested the soil, and I have the letter granting
We have
them
a sign off on
a
that.
clean disposition.
Okay.
And then when you see the pads in the back, that concrete pad, that's where there's a garbage,
Dumpster?
a small dumpster.
So what about septic? What have you got for existing septic?
I would imagine whatever's been there since God was young.
So that'll be upgraded,
So
obviously.
there's a bathroom in this building.
There's a bathroom in each building, yes. I
So
told,
they'd have to be replaced with the new,
and I told my client that almost assuredly we'd have to put in the IA system, which,
yeah.
it is what it is.
So the application is to go from auto repair to specialty trade con.
Essentially, yes. We'd like to cover it that way. In reality, what it's going to be is truly just offices, because it's not a slab, and he doesn't want to store things. He has 2 giant bay doors right there now. He could be using that for storage if he wanted to go in that direction. He doesn't need that. He wants to have a place for some of his staff to work. Now, in such an instance that down the road, he wanted to not occupy that and maybe rent it to somebody else who wanted to have offices there. You know, we don't want to preclude that from happening. So we're taking it from a non-conforming use that's, while not onerous, certainly more onerous than office space.
What kind of business does he have there for the offices?
He owns Flanders Sheet Metal, which is actually...
Oh, he owns the-
Yeah, it's actually located in Hampton Bays now.
Yeah, but there's an electrical contract in there now.
There is, right.
Right, but they're in the smaller building.
That's the.
They're in the larger building.
They're in the
And
larger.
then the large?
The smaller building is the building that we want to turn into office space. That's the
Oh,
actual
okay.
water repair.
So the large building's gonna go to specialty trade contractor, small building goes to office.
Now, you've calculated the parking
Yeah,
based on, there's a lot of parking, right? Anthony, did you do the calculation, 28 spots?
Yeah, I think I didn't do the calculations, Jackie, to be honest. I think what they did was tried to see how many parking spaces they could reasonably fit on the property. But I'd have to look at that a little more closely as a site plan issue. Really, big thing here, I think, is cleaning up that front. and-
Front, planting it and getting the
It's right
access.
now.
Yeah, and
Park
So
along the
you'd
front.
use Bay Avenue for in and out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think,
Close
know,
this up.
that would be a benefit to them going to the zoning board for the change in non-conforming use if we could get this site cleaned up and formalized, makes
Yeah.
it much better for everybody.
Well, I remember when it was automotive repair, there were cars everywhere.
Yeah, you could look in
everywhere.
the aerials, they were all over the place.
And
So,
that, sorry,
go ahead, no.
there you go.
You know, so before he went and made the application, he wanted to present it to this board and, you know, just sort of give him a
I
heads
think,
up.
I
and make
think
sure.
it's a good direction to take.
Yeah.
I agree.
The property faces a residential building, right? What's the setback there, Anthony? Do we need 50 feet there?
It's,
Pre-existing.
it's a pre-existing scenario, and it's between residential and non-residential zoning districts. We don't have that here. We have residential district to residential district.
Yeah.
So you could certainly maximize your setback to the maximum extent that we could and properly buffer it, but there would be no specific transition yard requirement because that only speaks to between non-residential and residential districts. Yep.
So we could look for some kind of buffers in the back here in terms
Absolutely.
of trees and
Yep.
whatever, just,
And what's to the
That area.
east? What is that?
Residential.
The town of Southampton has a halfway house, I'm told.
That's here showing on the,
Yes, right, the town of Southampton.
that's a large structure.
Yes.
That's correct.
So,
Okay,
I think
so,
that's good.
Okay,
Sounds
so
good.
good. Board's on board with this.
See what we're looking to do with the property.
Yeah, and obviously, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the
Yeah,
site
of course.
plan. But just
Concept
introduce
is
to the
great.
board and, you know, allow him to go on his way.
great, good, good.
Thanks.
I appreciate your time, enjoy the weekend.
you too.
Slide to the right. Close the.
Close the morning work session and, well, it's an afternoon work session going into the regular meeting session.
I'll just continue, I only got a few items up.
Okay, number 5, Peconic Paddler.
Yep, everyone's familiar with Peconic Paddler, we've looked at it, they've quickly submitted a formal site plan application, but I'm waiting for revised plans with the wetlands line on there. I know they have the wetlands flagged, and, but they need to show on the site plan. There was a couple of mapping issues, and we still have to do seeker, so I was just gonna recommend that we deem it incomplete at this point. And once I have the wetlands line shown, then I'll bring it back to the board and
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent. What else, Anthony?
Let's see here. Number 22 is actually a ZBA referral, and that's off the agenda until next time.
Captain
Yep,
LLC.
Captain.
Okay,
So I have number 23, Southampton Volunteer Ambulance.
right. Number 23.
You guys had a work session on this, actually, sometime.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go, Jackie.
Oh,
Yes.
good old paper.
It's easier.
Makes me happy.
That's good. Everybody remembered having this discussion, Southampton ambulance?
Refresh us. Yes, I remember the parish road coming in.
Yeah, that's right.
entrance
And so now you know where the property is. So they're before the zoning board because this is an HO zoned property. And an HO zoned property, 2 issues that they have. One is the size of the building is capped at 6,000, and they're proposing an 8,600 square foot building. There's also a requirement for apartments. When you're over 3,000 square feet in the HO zoning district, you're supposed to provide 1 apartment for each 1,000 square feet above the 3,000. But in this particular case, we're talking about an ambulance, emergency services
Right.
use. So they're going before the zoning board of appeals to get the larger building than what would be permitted under the code, and to eliminate the requirement for the apartments.
So essentially, they're changing the zone, I mean, from HO to whatever.
Whatever they accommodating this. So we have comments.
Not necessarily, I wouldn't agree with you. It's still HO.
It's still HO
Full
zone.
use in HO, but it's a special exception. Full disclosure, I'm presenting this on behalf of the town board to the ZBA, so I'm familiar with the application.
Okay,
But it's a permissible use as a municipal facility. The applicant is the town board in its capacity as the commissioners of the Southampton Ambulance District.
Oh, interesting.
So that's your applicant, and the request is to just, they're abiding by other special exception standards within 330-16218, but it's just the apartment provision and the size of the building.
So I had put together a little report to the zoning board with 3 points, and we'll see if the board has any others. The first was that I said the planning board was generally supportive of the project, acknowledged the size of the building is appropriate for the use, and that the 3 apartments is not appropriate or warranted, being that this is an emergency services use. You wouldn't typically want the apartments when you're having sirens and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff, you know, it just doesn't, it's not conducive to that. So I said that in the first statement. The second statement was about the parking calculations. The parking calculations would indicate, it says they're required to provide, I think, 58, and they're providing 46. However, the parking calculations are not correctly calculated. They would actually only be required. Yeah, they're using the entire space of the building for their parking calculations, and they really should be using the largest space inside the building dedicated to the use and basing it on the rated occupancy. For example, like you would with other uses, they've got a rated occupancy for the space, and then the parking would be based on that, not 1 per 180 square feet of floor area for.
and they'll have vehicles parked inside.
Yep. So I just wanted to say in point 2 that the park calculations are not correct, but I think that during the site plan, we could hammer that out, but I don't think they're going to need a variance from the parking requirement, is all I'm saying. The plan makes it look like they do, but I don't believe that's the case at all. I believe they can meet the parking requirement. And then the third point was that the planning board will have other site plan concerns, including but not limited to access, parking, landscaping, lighting, and architecture, and that we would address those during the formal site plan process. I didn't really have much more to say about it. Other than, the other point was, I think the board raised was the town looking into whether or not a light would be necessary there.
When they were exiting, right? Wasn't there going to be some kind of?
Potentially, so,
So as part of the project, there is a request in to have a blinking light there. That's going to be included in the cost of construction proposal. We obviously have to get approval from the county for that. It's a county road. And so the referrals have gone out to Suffolk County Planning Commission as well as Suffolk County DPW to ask for permission for, certainly the ambulance district would like, the volunteer ambulance company, which will be occupying the space, would like that blinking light as well.
Sure, makes sense.
Yep.
Yep, so you have enough, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Move to adopt the report.
Move to adopt the report by Dennis, second
Second.
by Robin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
that's all I have for you today. I'll see you all tonight.
That's it.
Oh, you're coming now?
I will be here tonight.
Okay.
Great.
Everyone doing today?
Matthew, you are
taking us to
number
number
3 and, okay,
North Sea General Store. I'm gonna get you guys some handouts first, some paper. These are all of my resolutions. So hang on to
Oh, all
that.
together.
All together.
I love the way you do that.
Helpful. It's helpful for me too.
That's it.
And this is site specific for the
This
general
is
store.
for this one?
This is for this one. This, once everyone's got a handout, I'll give you a little.
Such a nice packet.
Thank you.
This one too.
That's good. Okay, this is at 1360 North Sea Road. Thank you, Dennis. We've seen this before. It was previously deemed incomplete back on July 11th. This is purely a site plan to make the deli general store handicap accessible. This is for a handicap ramp. The applicant is requesting that this is expedited without a hearing. We'll still have the traditional referrals. Will be referred out to all relevant agencies, departments. There'll be a 30-day written comment period, but in the nature of public safety, handicap accessibility, they are requesting that the hearing be waived. So at this time, we're just looking to deem it complete. These are revised plans that show the ramp going the opposite direction, not towards the adjacent street, and they have elevations showing the ramp and what it's going to be constructed out of. It's going to be concrete.
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 Is it a handicap parking space?
Yes, they're supposed to be located next to the end of the ramp, which needs to be shown. It'll be a condition of approval, but at this time, this is just to deem complete.
You've got everything you need.
Got everything I need.
Okay.
Do we review it?
They requested to
They
waive
want
the
an
hearing, to
expedite.
expedite it.
So I'll have a motion?
Motion?
Motion by Robin, second by Phil. Zuccarelli, all in favor? All in favor?
Ask her that one.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Sorry, Zuck.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
The next one I have is agenda item number 4. This is Marusium. Claire actually handled the pre-submission for this as special trade contractor at 81B Montauk Highway in West Hampton, next to the car dealership. If you remember correctly, there's going to be office space and then special trade contractor in these two buildings. However, I'll show you the site plan just so you can refresh your memory. Office and special trade contractor, and then special trade contractor in the back. They're missing a number of items for us and for engineering as well. This is going to need a SWIP, so engineering would like their SWIP submitted prior to deeming it complete, so I'm recommending that this application is deemed incomplete until we get our outstanding
easy.
item.
Complete.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor, opposed, abstentions. 6 in favor, 1 absent, and complete. 8,
Number 8.
Eastport Bible Church Family Life Center.
Absolutely. This is a new application. This is a request for a pre-submission conference. So this is a request for a pre-submission conference. It's a community center that's going to be accessory to the existing church. The church is located at 386 Main Street in Eastport. It's on Montauk Highway and Tuttle. It also involves 3 parcels to the rear, 4, 6, and 8 Tuttle Avenue. That's next to it's across the street from the school. It's a special exception. But this time they have a lot of what they need. A couple of issues that I can see is as part of the special exception requirements. They're not allowed to have parking within any of their required yards, so nothing within the front yard setback and the side yard. So just some things will need to be adjusted, but we're in a pretty good place to start.
What is the use? Is it going to be church,
This is going to be accessory to the church, so I guess as a meeting hall.
school, or?
Not to what they've said. Yeah, just sort of a community center where they can meet, recreational activities associated with their church. I don't know, Bible study, stuff like that.
Used just by church members?
As far as from what's been
Are
submitted,
they
yes.
merging these properties?
They haven't said whether they're merging them or not. I assume that they will be, but that can be addressed at the pre-submission conference, and that'll be a part of the report as well, whether they'll be merged.
Are they going to demolish the building?
Yeah,
that are
the two houses that are there will be demolished.
And the church remains where
The
it's
church remains
at?
where it is. Yeah, there's going to be access from Montauk that goes through, and then off of Tuttle as well.
Access of what's called Main Street,
Yes,
and then through this other property?
correct.
So we have nothing more than that?
Septic.
No. Yeah, this is a beginning. And
So we want
recommending
to set a
to set a pre-submission conference for October 10th.
Any other questions? Okay. Motion
Motion.
by Dennis,
Second.
a second by Gloria, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Pre-submission conference, October 10th. Number 9,
2287 Montauk Highway. We're very familiar with.
do you have any?
There you go. Dennis? Going that way.
Oh,
This is Saunders in
yeah.
Bridgehampton. They're proposing to, as we know, demolish the rear office building and reconstruct a 2-story office building. There were some outlining items that the planning division, we needed in order to deem this application, as well as for engineering as well. They've submitted these revisions, so at this time, just recommending that this is deemed complete. SECR was already done at the time of the zoning board of appeal variances. So
They secure their variances?
yes, they have.
What were the variances again?
They got variance for the dumpster to be located in a required front yard, as well as the parking place and for lot coverage.
And parking?
There wasn't a parking?
There was a-
And
parking?
parking as
And
well.
parking.
Do you have a copy of that variance?
I don't have it on me, but it's
So
quite
they
long.
got 4 variances? Parking, lot coverage.
Yes.
At one time, they were going to secure parking. and-
Yes, that was part of a condition negative declaration that was rescinded by the zoning board of appeals after it was adjusted and additional things were offered. I mean, the applicant can speak more to that, but a neg deck was adopted by the zoning board in February, connected with this.
Okay, can you give us a copy of that
Absolutely, yeah.
when it's attached?
Yep. But this is to deem complete and set a hearing for October 10th.
October 10th.
Yes.
Okay, motion? Any other, motion by Gloria?
Second.
by Robin, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions?
Okay, moving on to number 20.
6 in favor, 1 absent.
Oh, thank you.
You have the variances?
He has them, yeah. Both of them. Yeah, 'cause there's a clarification, so.
That was in November? No, February?
February was for the negative declaration was in February. I'll make sure you all get a copy. Then we're on to number 20, 142 Meadow Line Highway, which is a site disturbance.
Number 20, 142 Middle Line Highway.
The right one. site disturbance plan and re-veg plan attached.
What number is this?
It's number 20.
Number 20?
Pass this at least once a day.
Yeah, it's a sprawling property. I had the opportunity to go up there at the end of August. It's at 142 Middle Line Highway within the CR 200 zone, APOD, 121,000 square feet. Yeah. As part of their building application, the homeowner was originally proposing a tennis court, but within their clearing limits, it was virtually impossible to fit a tennis court. So they've downsized, but as part of this, they're going to slightly overclear the property by about 800 square feet, which they're clear, you have to do additional clearing of 2,000, and they're going to re-veg 1,000, but it'll be overcleared by about 0.5%. So this is why they're before the board for their revegetation.
It's done already, they overcleared already.
They haven't overcleared yet. The property hasn't been disturbed yet. There was, at a previous time, there was secured a building permit and disturbed the property, but then it has since started to regrow. That's why you see where the house is, or where the original house was proposed in the aerial. That was a number of years ago, though.
So, bottom line is,
Bottom line is, now they will be overclearing slightly to situate this house.
and will they re-veg that
But they're re-vegging,
particular?
As you can see, it's sort of around the outside.
Right, and you've given them a plan for that?
Yeah, they have the plan. The first page you see is the survey, which shows the revegetation area, and the second page is the re-veg plan, which in the top right corner shows you the species and the spacing.
So they're gonna get a building permit based on overclearing?
Yeah, they've already applied for their building permit, and that's how it got kicked back to us, yeah.
Oh, so the building
Overclear.
department actually flagged it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens quite a bit, yeah, as you'll see on the next one.
I can't recall ever doing a re-veg plan that has not yet been done.
No, really, yeah,
This is the first.
yeah,
It's good.
it's good.
This is a new procedure.
So the clearing to.
And
re-vegging
I've
lines,
discussed,
so they're
and
gonna-
I understand what you're saying, Dan. I've discussed with the applicant that we'll revise your plans to, perhaps do
No.
less improvements, so you don't
Yeah.
overclear, but I've gotten nowhere.
What we've done in the past is, under the waiver provisions
Yeah.
of the APOD, there's a mechanism to allow relief to be granted. People have bought properties off-site,
Off-site.
Yeah.
sterilized them,
Sterilize it.
or brought properties off-site and further encumbered them.
It's my thought that this might be the way of doing this, since it's not a large area that's going to be overcleared. This might be the best way to do it, but I leave it up to the board.
Well, by
Well, we
the
could
time the
offer
final
that.
survey is, there might be additional areas overcleared.
Correct.
Yes.
They've staked their limits of clearing, then the company that they're working with that's doing the revegetation has assured me that they're not going to additionally overclear. There is a road that already goes to where the house is going to be. They've sort of staked the edge of the limit of clearing, so we're kind of are where we are at this point.
So just how should we proceed?
See,
This is interesting. Should
It's-
we,
It's a first, I don't know.
should we
I don't know what
make the
authority-
recommendation that, well, they haven't overcleared yet?
They haven't overcleared yet, but they
But
plan
they're
to.
not adju- but
Yeah, but they're not adjusting
building
the
plan.
building plan.
I don't know
So-
what authority
Yeah.
we have.
Require them to? That just seems,
Backwards.
if you have it, if you have.
Yeah, would set a precedent, yeah.
It's setting a precedent.
Yeah.
Kathleen, what do you think?
They haven't overcleared yet.
They
If you
haven't.
go into APOD, there is a waiver provision, but there's language that the
It's as if you've
the
cleared.
proposed action is, consistent with the objectives of the APOD, telling an applicant to go out and clear
Sterilize.
more
Mm-hmm.
native natural vegetation. Doesn't-
I'm not sure it's ripe yet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, they haven't done it yet, but they,
I don't know if
building
you want
wouldn't let them,
less from-
building wouldn't let them
violation.
secure a.
It sounds
Well,
like
that's
what you're
yeah,
doing is you're
You're
granting.
basically approving a violation.
Yes, you're granting it.
100%, yeah, so this is,
You're- I-
now that I
It's
think
like a
of it.
variance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Which
can't,
isn't your function.
So shall we not,
We take no action on it
Happens.
until,
I don't think so.
I don't think we can act on this.
Better
Do you?
better table this and.
we'll table it and
Kathleen
discuss, yeah, because it's a unique
delve into
situation.
the APOD
Can discuss it with
waiver.
Kathleen.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yeah, because the
dangerous.
issue is they haven't, building won't issue their building permit without them coming to us.
Because the answer is adjust your plan.
Because you're,
Adjust your plan.
adjust your plan, which I think is fair. Yeah.
It is fair.
Because
Usually-
we're not talking a lot of square footage to
Yeah,
adjust your plan.
No.
It's driveways, it's parking areas.
Yeah.
But
It's
the
all stuff that
applicant
can
should
be
be, I mean,
changed.
there is a, Dave Wilcox has a wish list of properties, and people have done it before.
That's fine. I'm very comfortable with that.
And
Absolutely.
Encourage it.
So you're tabling it?
Yes.
So a motion to table?
No, you don't need a motion.
No?
No, there's just no
Thank you,
action.
Dennis, yes.
Thank you.
If you did see the property, just to give the guy some guidance, would it be 1-to-1, or would you want 1-to-2?
Well,
Is there a depend on the area?
What is
Yeah, I mean-
typically, it's usually 1 to 2.
I've seen 1-to-2 personally.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been some adjustments on that.
We haven't
it's
done this for a
consistent with
while.
Yeah, but
it's
that's been
strange.
consistent with our past
1
applications.
to 2, yeah.
See, what it comes down to in these scenarios, it's quality versus quantity. A lot of the Dave's lists are in areas that are undeveloped, deep woods, no access, private lands that the town really, it kind of leverages the CPF resources to sterilize these properties. So, and then maybe the guy wants to live at a tennis court.
At that point, yes.
Okay, table.
Tabled.
Are you done?
One
No.
more. 21.
You're 21?
More side to
Similar scenario?
Yeah, no, this one's fine, actually. This one is traditional.
Okay.
This one is 100% cleared.
100%?
100%.
You said there are no absolutes.
This is 85 Spinney Road in East Quogue.
Oh, no. What are people
You
thinking?
missed the sum on the sides there.
Ask
Yeah.
forgiveness after you act.
That's right, easier to ask for
Easier to
forgiveness
ask
So
than
this is,
permission.
Right.
Just under a 26,000 square foot parcel in the CR 200 zone, way in the north of Spinney Road. Again, this came in from the building division. The homeowner was framing in their deck for additional, looks like an additional house, and they got a violation and also a clearing violation. It's a good plan. They're proposing 45 trees, and to relocate a structure. That'll be to the building department, so they can revegetate the back of the property. But I'm comfortable with the plan and the conditional approval, subject to our typical conditions for final inspection and the submission of surveys to verify the clearing is remediated.
So there's a stop on this until.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
What's the zone?
CR 200.
They're allowed permitted livestock, I guess. CR 200 is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What'd you say about livestock to this?
Chicken.
They have a chicken coop. And there are chickens.
It is
There are chickens.
There are chickens.
No problem.
Maybe they
That's
scratched.
Backs up to the hills, actually.
Yeah, it is over by the hills, yes.
DLB.
Yeah. So, yeah, just a conditional approval for this, too. The board is comfortable.
Okay, you want, what's the action?
For conditional approval, subject to the normal conditions for a no CO until final inspection, the submission of surveys to verify that the clearing is in compliance.
Right, and you've
Looked at
okayed
the
all
plan.
of it, you've seen it.
Yep. 45 trees are going in, so I'm very happy.
Wow. Okay. Motion?
Okay. Motion by Robin, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Now I am done.
You're done.
Okay.
Okay.
Claire has a heavy load today.
No more.
Do you want to
Not
start?
too heavy. I'm going to jump to number 6. I'm just going to go in order. Southampton Country Day Camp. We have received a complete application. Town engineer, everybody has agreed that everything we need is been submitted, so we can process the site plan application at this time. The question is whether you'd want a public hearing on the project. I think there is still public interest, so I do recommend a public hearing for October 24th, and so that's the resolution before you.
October 24th. I just wanted to ask, is it Wayne? Wayne, can I ask you a question? Please? I remember on the original application, or at least the application, the latest iteration that we've seen, they were just regular septics, right? You were upgrading to regular septics.
The
And I-
original plan, my client upgraded septics already there, and there are, as some of the modifications require new septics, and those new septics all would be IA systems.
They will be, that was my question.
The new septics are IA. The existing ones, which were just changed in the last couple of years, the health department is accepting those as they are.
They are. Have you been in touch with the health department at all about that?
Absolutely.
Recently, because they are now.
Yeah, our client is, as, you know,
They're-
our engineers have been working with the health department from day one on this, so.
Okay.
And he's
Okay.
recently been there and discussed. In fact, the health department, as you know, doesn't mandate IA systems. This is not in a high priority area under the town, so they're not mandated under the town regulations. Nonetheless, we proposed for the new things, and the health department balked, and we said, no, we're putting them in. It was actually that kind of discussion. So we're proposing the IA systems for the new, the new systems that had to be corrected or changed.
Right. And there was no thought of putting a one system in, or two large systems that would feed into it?
That was never on the table, so.
Well,
It's a seasonal thing, and, you know, so
But they do have seasonal.
But you had it in
do they
fire-
have seasonal, we had talked about that a little bit.
that was not part of the EIS process. That was already discussed.
A systems can be handled seasonally, there are, yes.
They can be handled seasonally. Okay, we'll talk about it. I just was curious as to know whether you'd been in touch with the health department recently.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is that the hearing date?
Yes, October 24th.
24th,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis.
Second.
Second by Robin, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
And Verizon Wireless High Street is just off the agenda. So
7 is off.
Number 7 is off. That jumps to Southampton Fire District. So this is a site plan approval.
Where are you? What
11.
Number 11.
11.
Okay.
This is site plan approval granted 2013 for the fire district building that's on North Sea Road. They are not prepared to go forward at this time. However, they want to make sure the site plan is valid, just in case they do go forward. So they're asking for a 2-year, or if you want to, grant him longer than 2 years. That is the request that's been submitted.
We usually do it in 2-year clips, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so 2-year.
2 years to the 2021.
2021.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, motion?
Motion.
That by Robin.
Second.
Second Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
And then Edgewater, which is the next one, we saw that at the last work session with the changes, so they're gonna, obviously, they still need to do the plans and change it. So for secret purposes, we'll give another 1 month extension on this.
1 month
Yep,
to
October 10th.
October 10th.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis.
Second.
Second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
So my next one is 192 West Montauk Highway.
Number
Um,
17.
Number 17. The applicant's representatives here. So I gave you the staff report. Since I gave you the staff report, Kyle and I have been back and forth. That rear road, that access, that's going to allow the people on the property to go to the, travel to the west and come east by the Stop and Shop intersection. It's supposed to be a road, like a dedicated public access road to match the Stop and Shop. So the plans needed to be adjusted slightly. I gave the applicant about an hour ago the plans, and I will give them to you to take a look at. I'll give you the updated reports and things that go along with it. So the applicant wants additional time to look at it to see if it works. It might need some tweaks. There's probably an in-between the two plans. Kyle came up with the plan. So I think that we're gonna, this applicant's here to speak for himself, but we'll put this off for 2 weeks. I'll get you the information, though, that you have it. I think we're there. It's just a matter of adjusting the site plan.
David, you want to talk? No.
We just got this.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, half an hour ago. So unfairly, we're working on this interior, so. But Kyle came up with a plan. They've got it now, so I think that's the best thing in
Okay.
terms of efficiency of time.
So what's that date?
The date would be
September-
September 26th.
Okay, so it's an extension to September 26th?
Yep.
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, extension, 6 in favor, 1 absent, September 26th.
Thank you. And my next one is Bill Fox.
Just scroll, right, that's the next one. anyway.
Just go.
Scroll up.
No. Oh, just roll.
Yeah,
one by
it's
hand.
it's the next one.
Okay.
Which one?
It's
Bill
number
Fox,
18,
number 18.
Bill Fox.
Oh, I see.
The old-
Starts on the bottom,
Yeah, on the North Highway there.
yeah.
Pass that down, Colleen. This is an updated staff report and decisions on the project. Here's some site plans. Site plan.
We'll change that.
Does Gloria have
Well, we have it.
a little one?
You have the little one?
Little one.
There's another little one here.
That's okay.
Got it?
Here's a
Oh,
full
here's a
size.
big one.
Here's a
Here's
full
big
size.
one.
Oh, here's the big one. Here you go. Not a mic,
I think we got the.
So just as a little update, the applicant pointed out that you had originally in the first site plan, which was called CR 39 Holding, when they wanted to do an office on the property, you had cross-access as a condition. They had come back and asked you to eliminate the cross-access. I mistakenly put it back in as a condition, so anything referenced to cross-access, I'm going to take out of the report and the decision, just so you know. So this is a 2,300 square foot building, special trade contractor uses. The type 2 action. ZBA with the first application had granted a number of variances which are listed. Public hearing was held August 8th, 10-day written comment period, no public comments. Town engineer had some comments related to the width of the handicap spaces, parking space, which needs to be widened, and DPW approval.
No, it's just in only.
ARB approved the
That's
project.
back a little bit.
Fire marshal, the dumpster enclosure,
Oh, yeah.
That's the same guy.
signage appropriately for County Road 39 not to have entrance, and a key box and street numbers. Conditions, DPW had a number of comments which will have to be incorporated in the project, and they'll need a permit from them. Suffolk County Department of Economic Development said it was local determination, no comments from the Health Department. And the Highway Department had 4 comments related to changes to the rear entrance that'll be incorporated into the site plan. Special exception approval, they meet all the conditions. I just want to point out I, which has the parking requirements, they just needs to be adjusted. They incorrectly parsed out office and storage, and special trade contractor is different, but it meets the requirement for 8. They provide the buffers, and there's no special safeguards. Landscaping's appropriate. The dumpster should be landscaped around 6 foot tall as required. Street trees are appropriate. The lighting's appropriate. We just would need the lighting cut sheets as typical. And then cross-access, I'll remove reference to that. And there's no sign indicated at this time. Any questions? I can go through the conditions. So changes to the plans, number 1A, changes. B is amend the parking calculation. C is note the correct width for the handicap space. D is the Hubbard access per town engineer. And E is the evergreen landscaping around the dumpster. Changes the lighting plan is the height of the lighting poles at 10 feet and indicate the mounting height of the lighting fixtures for the town code. DPW and Highway Department approval, key box street numbers, screen mechanicals, exterior lighting 100 watts, no dusted on lighting fixtures, shielded, pre-construction meeting for the town engineer. 4A is eliminated, and the lighting cut sheets, affidavit, and the 6 sets of plans. The applicant's here. I don't know if they have any comments or
Is
yells.
there a cut sheet on the lights?
Cut sheet and light will be a condition of approval prior to submission of plans, just to verify it.
One thing to be aware of, and I'm sure you'll pick it up, is these wall packs on these buildings with the back garages glaring out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a condition of the town permit, town code is that you cannot see the light source, so that we can get them
So it
under
has to
that
be-
already. But I could put a condition related to that if you'd like.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what G is. All proposed lighting shall be shielded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
That's what
you
she
don't
is.
need to restate it.
Great. If you'd like, we can adopt the,
Why did we take the cross-access away?
because Hubbard effectively
That's the
acts
cross-access.
as the cross-access for this property.
See, if you look at the key map in the top right,
Yeah.
all those sites are designed to feed into Hubbard,
Into.
which then can access, there's
Okay.
a signalized intersection.
There.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Claire, it says the lighting shall not be 100 watts. Is that based, if I have an LED that says it's 15 watts but gives off 120, does it look at the 120 or does it look at the 15 watts?
It looks at the 15 watts, and the 100 watts is for a layperson who just wants to go and put one thing up, and they just want to quickly look and see, oh, 100 watts or less, I'll be conforming, go, you know? If you're getting into, now we get LEDs, now we're getting LEDs. It doesn't apply to LEDs, it would be for plain incandescent, which is kind of outmoded now, so,
Okay.
just so you know. Okay? Recommending approval with conditions.
Any more discussion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
And then my last one is 20 Riverlay. It is to set the maintenance bonds. I went and inspected it. They have a couple more little adjustments to the building.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Number
Yeah, next
19.
one.
19.
20 Riverlay is the office building that you approved, the 2 apartments on the circle in Riverside.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it is, if you've gone by it, it's up with its clock tower.
Oh, yeah.
It does look nice.
It looks very
Yeah.
nice.
Clock tower.
With the
I love
building in the
clock
front and the
tower. Good
parking in the
feature.
rear.
That with the paddler, I tell you.
Yeah, I was so busy looking at it, I was in the wrong
Oh,
way,
yeah.
and I wound up going clock instead of afterface.
It really looks beautiful.
It does. So they've done a good job. We're almost, all the landscaping's in, so we'd set the maintenance bond for $4,500, which is 1/3 the amount, if you're inclined.
Motion.
Motion by Robin.
Second.
Second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks, Claire.
Claire.
That wasn't bad.
No.
Sorry.
Sorry. Still got
Another
stuff.
one?
Yeah, we got stuff.
Another one.
What?
We got stuff.
A lot of stuff.
One more, son. Stragglers over there.
Hi, Jackie. How are you? Good.
I would like to take the board to number 14. I have it to distribute, but there's aerials.
The Woods, number 14, the Woods at Hampton Bays. Okay.
Yeah, what you had attached was, half of it was from some project in Bridgehampton.
Yeah, you know what? It was open while I think she set the agenda, so I was working on it, so the changes didn't get saved. I have the,
I'm reading Selleton Way, and I'm like, wait a second, I know that, in
that was
Bridgehampton.
my like draft from last week. And I was working on it, I think, while she was posting it, so.
Do you want me to give that? I was gonna lean it over.
Yeah.
Here you go.
So, and if you also go to the back of the packages that are being distributed, they'll show you. I have a sketch with the map, so we got an alternative. Some of the comments that we received were regarding steep slopes. They did have to provide us with a yield map. The yield map did show us 26 lots, which was consistent with the previous preliminary approval that was done in 2007. We did take a look at the map, though, and really the loop road was only going to be accessing the previous lot 19. So in talking to the applicant surveyor, a lot of infrastructure for that road to be a loop road was needed for lot 19.
which now you'll see that the top of that hill was where Lot 19 used to be. And so now we've actually terminated and eliminated the loop road and allowed each of the roads to terminate in a cul-de-sac. That would also allow for the steep slopes to be in the open space preservation area. And we're still maintaining open space along the road to preserve the scenic, historic wooded character of Old Riverhead Road along that edge. We also were looking at the open space configuration slightly changed along the southern portion. Although if you take a look at the aerial that's showing you actually the water quality aerials, which is right behind the little map that I gave you, you'll see that we have Sunrise Highway here, but a lot of this map is actually going to be thankfully also buffered by the clover leaf. So if you'll see, like, at first I was discussing this with Kyle and we were a little concerned that the open space was a little narrower along the west, but they have removed the recharge basin, which actually will reduce the disturbance in that southwest corner. And then if you'll look at the map, the clover leaf actually gives a lot of protection from Sunrise Highway. So they're really just dealing with the on-ramps and off-ramps, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the exit ramp off Sunrise. Also, you're going up quite a topography. So as you're going towards Flanders Road, you're getting off, you're traveling to go north on Flanders Road, there's actually quite almost like a bluff. So we're talking these houses are actually going to be higher up on the north side of Sunrise Highway. And then the area that is mostly exposed is really your southwestern corner, which you can see that actually has the largest block of open space along that side. So in looking at this, the only other idea was there is a historic trail, and it's quite interesting. We have a 1930 aerial, and the 1930 aerial shows this historic trail. And it looks like it used to come from Red Creek area and actually follow down the parcel just to the east and go into like Hampton Bays proper. So most likely it was an old like horse trail or an old trail that was utilized for people from Red Creek, basically getting into the village and get to Main Street. So even though there's not really a possibility to preserve that trail going basically to the properties to the east and to the west, we did want to maybe integrate that into the plan. And while you'll see in between lots 7 and 8, I was asking for a open space flag strip essentially there, so we could possibly utilize and meet up with the old existing trail and maybe make it like a neighborhood walking trail. Also asking for a slight modification to the northern portion of lot 12, and just a slight shift so that we can keep the historic trail in the open space and then essentially utilize that to kind of make a neighborhood loop walking trail along this neighborhood. And then you'll see in between 10 and 11, I was also asking for a thin flag strip there and to provide connectivity for wildlife, but also for the residents within the subdivision, so that if they want to take a walk and go to Red Creek Park, they could essentially, instead of walking along the road, they could essentially utilize that internal walkway and then meet up with Old Riverhead Road and go across the street to Red Creek Park. So keeping
How
a...
would you handle the path across lot 8?
Yeah, that's.
I think that would most likely have to be rerouted, but we could then, right at the cul-de-sac point, if along that green area, we could probably just meet up with the historic trail and then allow basically to pick it up there, because we're already bisecting that kind of diagonal portion because we've got lot 3, 4, the road, and lot 8 kind of already messing with that portion of trail. And really the objective is kind of to get from cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac. So that's why I've kind of drawn it as such. So that's kind of the basic of that sketch there. I have the preliminary approval drafted. It is very long. The applicants did just get it. But the basic stuff is really that drawing. I made a finding that secret was already done at the original application stage, which is what we had a finding about at the completeness standpoint. I have findings about how many hearings that we've had and that we had a 30-day written comment period, which concluded on August 24th. That it is in substantial agreement with the pre-app report and the preliminary approval. I do have a finding that this is considered a receiving area. So this was in the Central Pine Barrens Comprehensive Land Use Plan to receive additional density. If you'll read through the resolution, this is actually a reduced density plan. The yield is 26 lots. They're proposing 20 with 2 affordable units to comply with Long Island workforce housing.
2 affordable?
2 affordable units. And one of the comments is also going to be to show at the final application stage which ones are going to be affordable. But it is a 23% reduction in the yield.
Can I just ask a question? The dotted line that is in the rear of each of these lots, is that for a conservation or a buffer zone?
That might be a setback or a possible buffer. I'm not,
'Cause that would-
I'm not sure. The surveyor's actually not here today, so we could probably get back to you on that.
Yeah, because that would buffer for the other landowners that are accompanying,
Well, and these will have clearing restrictions,
that's,
so, oh,
yeah.
Mike.
Do you have to come up to the
Yeah, if you just
podium?
wanna
We
come
have
up
to
to the
record
podium.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I didn't mean to
Just for the
interrupt.
recording.
It's just on this, Michael
Yeah.
Strauss for the applicant. It's just on this one matter. I believe that if you're talking about the dotted lines throughout, that those are just topo lines.
I think
Oh,
she's
that,
talking about
okay, now I
those
see
and
which ones.
those.
Old Riverhead Road, right?
Right.
This is, there's a whole strip of them here at the back of the rear of the, I'm just looking
Yep, I see.
where it's,
It looks like they almost might be front and rear yard setbacks.
I believe-
would they have also for, in terms of either clearing or conservation eas- or buffers to,
I don't think it's necessarily a proposed buffer, but I'm fairly sure that it delineates how much you could clear in terms of the clearing percentages approximately, that's all. But I'll,
APOD, right?
I'll verify that with you.
yeah, because it would be nice for the neighbors behind if that stayed, at least for them to look over, they see.
So I could add that in too. I wasn't sure if the applicant wants to. I mean, so with the APOD, we could actually look at each of the lots and have buffers, basically setting in stone what can and cannot be cleared. But then you
Yes.
can also, okay, but then you can also have the flexibility of 60% of the lot you can clear, so then the resident is choosing
I mean,
where.
the reality is, most of the clearing is gonna be in the front anyway, because you have
Sure.
your septic, all your underground.
Well, and the thing is that actually as reviewing site disturbance plans frequently now that we do,
Yes.
the only thing is also sometimes it actually is beneficial to keep the native vegetation in the front because everyone wants the recreation of their properties in the backyard.
Well-
So a lot of times what we're encouraging people to do is trying to have, like a 20 or 30-foot wide construction entrance and leaving it in the front, as well as maybe in the very far backyard, so you can have the enjoyment of your backyard, your
Yeah, I'm
patio,
just
your
looking
deck.
at also the
pool.
neighbors. Because
Yes.
the front is on the cul-de-sac. So that's
Yes.
where that's part of the development. I'm looking at the neighbors having some kind of continuance of that open
Greenery.
space in the
Yeah.
griny.
You can
So
split it.
Yeah.
Some in the
perhaps
front,
we-
some in the back.
Yes, you could.
Okay, can we look into that?
So the applicant, for the final application, guys might want to look at an analysis of if maybe buffers and setting the buffers in the back and possibly in the front would actually be helpful. And also then it would be easy, everyone would know when you have your property, you can't clear here, you can't
Yeah.
clear in the very back, but then you can do whatever you want.
I think it just
Essentially in the
clarifies, it makes it easier for the homeowner.
So we can look at that, and that was one of the things I did want to discuss with the board, is because they do get 60%, but we could
Right.
actually prescribe where the 60% is, maybe not through building envelopes, but maybe just through like a rear and a
Well,
front
that's what
buffer.
that's exactly the point that I was bringing up, because I'd love to see the rear buffers so that the accompanying neighbors from the rest of the area
Yep.
had this forested look, and they still would have some of the, the vegetated look.
So we can look at that, and that can be compatible with the clearing restrictions.
Yeah, and I don't think it hurts the development in any way, it just keeps that nature of the area.
Yeah, and so I was recommending, but I didn't want to set in stone a buffer as well. I was going to ask for a buffer on the south sides of lots 6, 7, 12, and 13, just to make sure there wasn't encroachment into the open space, and also to prevent any impacts on those southern lots from the highway noise as well.
So do you want to delineate that with like a split rail?
Yes, I was going to ask for delineation with a
Yeah.
split rail fence or open rail fence along the open space, so
That'll
that
be
is
nice.
in there.
Actually, it'll look nice.
It'll look nice.
Yes. Yeah, so we just asked for it to be like an open rail fence, so I put split rail or open rail
Yes.
fencing.
Yeah.
Are you reading from any particular?
I kind of started, I started going through my findings. I'm kind of on page 2 now.
Oh,
I'm trying to go a little faster for you guys. But I really do like the alternative layout. We've gotten rid of the infrastructure of the road. We've gotten rid of the recharge basin.
Yeah.
We can handle this with in-road drainage. I am encouraging the applicant to take a look at like possible swales or some water gardens to accommodate the flow instead of just putting everything underground.
you can
It's hard
recharge
with
it
these
before.
small lots.
Yeah. Well, it would be in the right-of-way. The swale, you can do swales within the shoulder of the right-of-way.
Do we
which
have
actually-
sidewalk? We have sidewalks here, don't we?
Actually, we do not. We do not have sidewalks on this map. The board had discussed that earlier on. I don't really see the need for this specific one. There's no sidewalks on the south side of Old Riverhead Road that they would really meet up to. I do think, though, with the neighborhood walking trail, that would be nice, because then, if you want to walk your dog or take your kids on a stroll around the neighborhood, you'll have that connectivity, and then you'll be able to get to Red Creek Park across the street, which obviously has extensive trails and other amenities and park resources to the north.
I mean, any subdivision of this size, we really should always, I think, consider some kind of
Yeah.
friendly walking
That's why I-
ingredient. in
yeah,
it,
that's why I
because
think-
people want to do that, you know?
The
Yeah.
map is showing sidewalks, I think.
Oh, really?
Is it?
Unless
Where
I'm
it
reading
is?
it wrong.
I didn't think it was.
It looks like a sidewalk.
Is that a sidewalk?
There's a water main.
There's that strip, if you look at the cul-de-sac, there's that, looks like a,
Oh, I believe that's the shoulder of the road. I think it's showing
shoulder of the road.
improved.
There are a
it's
lot of
impro-
lines.
Showing,
Very
yeah,
confusing.
it's showing the improved surface
No
of the
sidewalks.
asphalt, and then it's showing the shoulder, which would be grass.
yeah.
But that was a discussion. I don't really think sidewalks in this case are appropriate. Maybe if we had stuck with the loop design to have one of the inner circle have a sidewalk, but there really are no other sidewalks to meet up with. So if you're talking.
Walkway, I mean, something.
But that's why, so with the trail connection, it kind of, instead of having like sidewalks, we were thinking, take a look and try to catch that historic trail, and you could still be walking around your neighborhood, walking a dog, or then, basically coming up and then going to Red
We
Creek
could
Park.
indicate that, maybe with some very nice historic signs.
Yeah. We could also look at a plan to actually have some kind of, something easily travelable, for pedestrians.
I think so.
For this as well, so we could look at that. But right now, I'm asking for at least the open space connection, and then we could look at it being, somehow formally like paved or stabilized. Something to stabilize it so that everyone could travel it,
Yeah,
so that it would be pedestrian friendly,
There's no right of way up.
that would be nice.
Yep, because just to have that nice little loop is nice, and then to have the ability to go to the north to
the
Red Creek
park.
Road is nice as well, without having to walk along the road.
Yeah, because that's, yeah.
So I'll just continue. There's not too much else. But I did go over the steep slopes, which we've now eliminated a lot where the hill is. So you'll see that middle open space is actually where the lot used to be. So that's actually a really nice hill with steep slopes. So that will now be incorporated into the open space. We talked about the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, so we can explore buffers. At the final application, I'll make a finding about that.
So what's the elevation of that hill, Jack?
The top elevation is 91.6 feet.
So it's a stabilized,
It's a natural, yeah, it's a natural hill. There actually is a lean-to structure over there too. It looks like that historic trail, and there was kind of like an interesting thing, where people might have hung out in the
lookout.
woods, yeah, or a lookout. But we're gonna ask that be removed and demolished prior to the map being signed. Here.
Probably more a deer shoot or a duck shoot, if you ever.
It's
leave.
actually more like a lean-to. It's not
Yeah,
a
it's
deer
not in your
stand.
tree- no?
Mm-mm.
Good, makes me feel.
No, it's almost like a little,
like
I don't know, just like some sticks and rails people have leaned together.
Kids fort.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, more like a fort. So we went over the clearing, which is number 8. Number 9 is the affordable housing. So they will be showing 2 affordable housing lots. We're asking that they show which ones at the final plat. They did show them originally as the lots closer to the mouth, the entrance of the subdivision, but they're now kind of reconsidering. So I told them, just show them on the final plat so the planning board is aware of where
and
they're going
mixed
to be.
in, yeah.
Yeah, and then that will be covenanted at the final conditional approval. For the fee, I did say that we would require a park fee because we wouldn't be having a park resource on site, but I did leave a finding. The next one is with the reconfigurations. Number 10 kind of deals with the reconfigurations I've explained to you. So with the reconfigurations and with that walking trail, I believe that would satisfy the park fee. So the park fee right now, based upon the neighborhood assessment district, is $9,993.36 per lot. So the overall fee would be $199,867.20
So they'd be saving
overall.
that.
So they'd be saving that amount of money if they can provide us with a nice integral neighborhood walking trail, which I think would be nice.
Is this going to be like a homeowners association eventually, or?
I don't believe so, but I asked
No.
the applicants just to make sure that they reference that on the final application. I believe the roads are to be dedicated to town as well as the open space. And we did discuss that at the work session, that they were going to be dedicating it, but we just want to have that referenced on the plan.
Now, are these going to be all developed at once by one builder, or are these
I can't
lands being
speak-
sold to individuals?
I can't speak, are they all going to be developed at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, not literally, sorry.
There are mics here, if you want.
Okay, this is fine, thanks. Well, they'll be developed at the same time in as much as perhaps 6, 8, 10, 12 houses get started and then the rest get built out. There won't necessarily be 20 going up at the same time, but yes.
But it's not, you're just not going to be selling vacant land to be built at.
No, I mean, this client builds out the homes.
Got it, thank you.
So I pretty much have covered 9, 10. So 11, so the only thing is, on 11, this is not in the water quality priority area, although the board had some concerns about the subdivision requiring IE systems. It is within the board's purview too, but this is not located in the water quality protection priority area, sorry. That's why I did give you just a visual, because you were requesting how far and if it would be necessary. So this actually shows you. So the darker like peach is the high priority area, and then the lighter like peach beige color is the medium priority area. So it is like 4,100 linear feet to the medium priority area, and it's about 2,100 to the medium priority area over here. So I do have a finding in here, obviously it's always good to, reduce the nitrogen loading, but it is not required by code to provide an IA system
So
here.
how are these areas, who created them and how are they defined?
This is a town based upon the town water protection quality study. So this is our map that requires, and so anyone who's in the medium or the high priority zone with a new house or a failing system that's coming in for, I think it's over 50% renovation of your house will be required in these bubbled areas to update their
So
system.
my question is the town looking at protecting the aquifer everywhere or just in these areas?
Well, right now, just in these areas.
And why those areas?
Because they are in the 1 to 2 and the 0 to 2 and the 0 to 5 year areas, which contribute to our natural water bodies. So like the high priority area is the 0 to 2 year, so within 0 to 2 years, that affluent can get to our bays or our ponds or lakes. The other area, the medium priority area, is 0 to 5 years, generally speaking. So those are the areas, and that if you look at the map on a whole, it actually kind of shows you it's pretty much along the coast. We do have some creeks that kind of meander up into our downtowns, which also are included. So that's what you have here. This is there is Munns Pond right here, and then there is I forget the name of the other creek. There's Munns Pond, and then there's Tiana Bay, which basically are down here. So Munns Pond, and there's a creek. I think it's Hidden Creek. Hideaway Creek.
So there's a relatively short distance, it's over the cloverleaf from one of those priority areas
Yes,
to this subdivision.
but it's not in the required water
Right.
protection quality area. So I did have that in there. I know the applicant would like to speak on that matter because we discussed that.
Good afternoon, Michael Strauss again for the applicant. We only first got the staff comments, which are obviously very detailed and extensive, and in reading through them once, in general, they all appear reasonable and acceptable to us, except for, as Jackie just alluded to, the one potential requirement for the IA septic system. To make a long story short, that's a very big problem for this builder on this project. Aside from the cost of $400,000 to $500,000, it's a much more involved process to get plans approved, inspections, there's maintenance for future homeowners, and it really just doesn't work for him. It isn't a requirement. to have this. It's certainly not required by the Health Department. It's 26 feet to groundwater here. It's not within 500 feet of any surface water. And we really respectfully request that the board does not require that. I would go so far as to say that we would even consider having you go forward with preliminary approval, even on putting the trails in if that were not required. But if that's not the determination of the board, we would ask that you hold it to the next hearing so we can address that further with you, because that's very critical, and I would have the opportunity to go through all of the detailed recommendations with my client and the surveyor, and also verify, hopefully, that it will be acceptable to put in the trails in lieu of the rec fee, which may well be. We'd just like to take a quick look at it with my client. So it may be best to just, if possible, hold this to the next meeting, because that one particular potential requirement is something we'd like to address.
Is there any consideration to put some AI systems in and not all?
I've not had that conversation with him, but I think from what the conversations I've had, that he really would not want to be required. And our understanding was from the beginning in checking it, that since it's not a requirement, that it would not necessarily, I understand you have the power to do it, but wouldn't necessarily end up being a requirement on this project. And that was taken into consideration in planning the whole thing, from purchase price, et cetera. In the very limited experience I've had, for instance, with it so far, it can take on a bit of life of its own for each job. But again,
Have you had experience with that?
not in great detail, but in terms of representing clients who've dealt with it, and in various degrees it can be fairly involved,
Yeah.
just in terms of getting plans approved and everything else.
Because you are an APOD and the Central Pine Barrens compatible growth areas.
I understand.
And a quick note, it's only required in the high priority area, not the medium priority area. So we're further away to the pink is the high priority area.
So it's
and
like
that's,
the darker pink, sorry, I misspoke. The
that's where
darker pink.
that's what the code requires.
Yeah.
So it's further away than
Mhm.
initially we thought.
Yeah.
So the town took a small step.
Yes. Baby step, baby steps.
Baby step.
It's a pretty big step, though. That's getting in trouble.
I personally feel that when you're going to be building 20 more houses, you have an opportunity to do something better than what's required. So that's just me.
Can speak from my own experience, it does take a very long time. So from a development standpoint, I mean, I did one on my house.
You mean to install?
It didn't take long to install. It took a long time for the plans to be approved by the health department.
And yet they're proposing it, so they haven't refined the system.
It's a very new program, so.
It's a learning curve and it's a staffing issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just can tell you, like, you know, when I originally put in my application, I think I was approved like a year or so later.
I think it's better now, but you're correct.
Yeah, I think mine was probably about 13 or 14 months until.
Really?
For one individual system.
Mhm.
Yeah, I submitted it in like January of 2017 or 2017, and I wasn't approved to actually go for it until March of 2018. And then even then, there were some modifications that I wasn't able to actually put the system in because of all the paperwork and tons of signatures. But I think I put my system in December of 2018, so.
So they're
almost
impeding
took
their
2
own
years.
directive in a way by not streamlining this process.
Well, and it's a new process, so.
You know, just one last thing, I don't want to
Yes.
belabor the point.
Yeah.
It is a tremendous burden, maybe a deal-breaking thing for my client, which is his own problem with the seller. He's a contract vendee. But for what it's worth, the town did make a determination that it's not required in this area. And since it is a pretty big burden, and you can see what you have to go through just for one house, at this point, I think it would be reasonable to only require it in the areas where it is required, because there will be a number of systems based on that. And the areas which are less sensitive, such as this, with more depth to groundwater and further from other surface waters, I think at this point, it would be reasonable to use the town board's determination as a guide to
Right.
not, extending it to this point. It is 20 houses.
Well,
Ms.
that,
Burke is completely correct, but it's
Right.
not 200 houses.
right, the
either.
determination based on the number of buildings was not anywhere in the calculations for the town,
Right.
I'm assuming.
Right, but it's a relatively modest subdivision. Again, it's not one of these, something built in 3 phases with 75 houses per phase, which is a lot more impactful than 20.
We don't have the authority to mandate the IAs.
No, I know.
We don't have the authority to mandate the IAs.
By code, we don't, right.
So
What section deals with that?
I just was gonna paraphrase 12, which is on page 4. I'm just saying that I do think the planning board shall proceed with the alternative layout, with the proposed 20 lot. I did say that it reduces the overall disturbance by eliminating the recharge basin. It allows for preservation of the majority of the steep slopes within the open space parcels, allows for possibility of an open space and neighborhood trail connection to Red Creek Park, and that both plans also called for roadside open space, which will preserve the scenic and wooded character along Old Riverhead Road. So I just kind of wanted to frame that. I think the alternative
Did you
plan.
include the buffers in there?
Sure, I could add the
Could you?
buffers.
Thank you.
I was going to add that in
Let's
the
do
other
it.
section as well, the clearing
You
section.
can do them both. Barb.
Number
So
8.
just- Yeah,
So I'll also make a note
yeah.
for 12.
Because that's important.
And
So I mean, 5 has to be modified.
and did the town engineer, are they still calling because of drainage?
Do you mean 5 or do you mean 11?
On page 17, number 5.
It goes from
You can
9,
insert
4
language
to
that
10.
decline to
Yeah, yeah.
encourage you
Yeah,
to
just what
consider.
you know, you know.
Oh,
Yes.
It's a typo.
It's just the.
yeah. No, that's just like
We
the
don't have
number
the
code
power
when you
to
hit
mandate.
enter, like,
We don't have the power to mandate.
okay. So I have it as number 11, but the IA system, you would like to, so I'll just say
Though
encourage.
we encourage it, it's not
Encourage the
required by
Yeah.
code.
My
Well,
only
that's
number
all-
11
that's all we
is
can do.
road and common driveway plans.
You got numbers funny here, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just.
Oh, are you on the
Funny
approval?
numbers.
Are you
Where are
on-
you,
oh,
Dennis? What page?
I was in the findings.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Still in findings.
Okay, so in 11 on the findings, and my numbering is wrong on the findings as well.
Yeah.
Yes, you have
It's
4 before
consistent.
10.
I know, I'm very consistent with my,
Consistent. I like
with my
consistency.
errors.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
So I'll
4.
encourage the applicant to explore the IA systems, and I'll give the rationale that we have in the
Right.
findings. And then, so, 5, I will just, do you want to strike it, or do you want to say the applicant is encouraged in
Yeah,
exploring?
that's,
Keep the
yes.
language in,
Keep
but
the
just has to be
language.
modified.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Encouraged to explore installation of IA.
Okay.
I have a question on.
I will add the buffers as well.
Thank you.
The engineering.
Yes.
Did they recommend only for 2H drainage here and not more?
I believe so, yeah. Let me go back. He had a lot of detailed comments. Let me go here. Oh, yes, 2-inch. Yeah, on some areas, they do ask for 3 inches.
That's why I'm
They're
asking.
proceeding with that. On this one, they were looking at 2-inch drainage. There is a lot of changes to this plan, though, too, since the one that he approved. But this is a high elevation as well, with well-drained soils. So sometimes the 3 inches also might have to do with the topography in the area and the ability for it to kind of like spill off-site or not be able
Yes.
to be handled on-site. But I think it would probably be beneficial
Just
to
have
go
it look-
over the road and drainage plans with
Yeah.
engineering prior to submission to the final application.
Yes, that would be good.
So, because there has been some changes, we're no longer looking at a recharge basin, we are
Right,
looking at standard
exactly.
in-road drainage. So if you'd like, I can say,
Just tell us what page you're on.
I'll do it on the
6.
conditions, but I'll say compliance with engineering division comments, with, review by engineering prior to submission.
Yeah.
So that way we can have a meeting of the minds. All right, so I'm going to add that in too, because it would be beneficial to the applicant as well as us to be able to go over the drainage issues. Obviously, they're very detailed if you see all the details he's commenting on all of the pages, but since then, we have eliminated the recharge basin.
Yes.
and that disturbance.
That's why I asked.
Yep, so I'll just go to the conditions. It's the preliminary subdivision map entitled The Woods at Hampton Bays, prepared by Kenneth H. Beckman, dated May 2019, last revised July 25th, 2019, is hereby approved. The applicant shall submit the alternative layout for the final application submission with modifications stated herein, and entitled The Final Reduced
Jackie, could
Density.
you just tell me where you are?
I'm on the conditions, number, page 17, sorry. 17, page 17. We're just going over the conditions.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's a very large packet.
It is very large. So that's basically that we would like them to proceed with the alternative layout and then just name it appropriately as a final reduced density planned residential. So that way everyone knows that this was a reduced density and a planned residential development means a cluster plan. Applicant shall note the open space parcels are to be dedicated to town and shall note if the roads are to be dedicated to the town as well. Final plat shall be modified to provide open space connectivity, and if a neighborhood trail connections are provided, the planning board may consider waiving the park fee. I'm going to change number 5 to say that the applicant is encouraged to look at innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment, that the subdivision map shall show and note a split rail or open rail fence to avoid future encroachments along the open space. So I'm just going to have open space. Shall submit updated test hole data on the subdivision since the test hole is over 10 years old. That there will be clearing restrictions. So here I will add the
Buffers, thank you.
buffer language. Robin, are you more concerned with the rear yards than the front yards?
I know, I'm more concerned about the rear yards because they back up to
Yes.
the
The
visions
existing
of the
residential
private,
lots.
right.
Okay. So it's a standard 15% fertilizer dependent C on vegetation, that they remove the wooded lean-to or fort, as we discussed, that the road plans incorporate mountable curbing, so to allow wildlife access across the property, that the final road and drainage plans accounting for two-way cul-de-sac islands, so that way they're not too narrow, and that we ask for a landscaping and street tree plan. I'm also going to ask here, although it's pretty normal, it's just they have to show the hydrants, and the fire district asks for hydrants every 500 feet.
Is there any problem with water pressure in that area?
I don't believe so.
Or Hampton Bays water?
I don't believe so.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't believe so. I mean, I feel like the fire district might have commented if they were having
What
any
if they,
issues.
or would the Hampton Bays Water Authority have to comment?
I mean, we could ask the applicant to touch base with the Hampton Bays Water Authority, Water District.
It just seems
This is
logical.
within the Hampton Bays Water
Water
District.
This is in the
Yes, it
Hampton Bays
is.
Water District.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can ask them.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
would
going to
just
add,
touch base with them
I'm
and
just
make
going to
sure
say,
they don't have
show
any
the
problem.
hydrants
Yeah.
every 500
There's
feet.
been so much
Yeah.
Yeah. So
chatter about
yeah,
issues.
so I'll say show hydrants for HB Fire District. And then I will also say the applicant shall contact.
Is it a
Hampton
referral
Bays.
or is it they contact?
Usually we ask them to contact them at the final application stage. I could send a referral to them.
I think it might not be a bad idea to get it up front to see if there's any problems in that area.
But if the applicant can contact them and resolve it by the time the
Yeah.
final application comes, that would be
Just let's check.
beneficial. Okay. And the other thing is just compliance with engineering division, but I'm going to amend, modify that to say with review by the engineering division prior to submission of the final, and then standard Suffolk County Department of Health approval prior to final application.
So is the Suffolk County Health Department understaffed? Is that what's going on there? No comment.
It's a challenge to get through the health department on anything.
On anything?
Comments are a lot of fun.
No, well, it affects us, it affects all of the applications that come to us.
It affects every part of that process.
Yeah.
It's all about, we're constantly asking for extension.
Exactly.
So are you guys are
So you'll,
okay? Okay.
you're comfortable with everything, so we're accepting this as correct, and you'll send us
Yes.
a revised?
Yes, I can send you the revise.
So we're going to have a motion to accept the Woods at Hampton Bays by Dennis, second
Second.
by Florian, all in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay, so 5 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 absent. Abstention is Zuccarelli.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
I have a few other small items, which should be really quick. All right, so if the board could go back to number 15?
16?
Chicken.
Oh, you know what, I'll go to 10 and 13
10.
first, sorry. 10 is Hugh Freund, so this is an application where it is a 2-lot subdivision in Watermill on 745 North C. Mecox Road. So they are asking for a waiver of the pre-application policy. This is the second time it's gone through a pre-app. There is a new owner to the parcel that just purchased the parcel in March of 2019. And with this, they did receive a variance that required a development right to be brought to this property. So they're kind of still researching and trying to get their health department approval and get the development right. So they're working on that. They asked for a waiver and then a 1-year extension, which I think is appropriate since they just purchased the property. They have to get a development right and have health department approval, which they had just started that in the summer.
Motion?
Motion by Robin,
Second.
second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
The next one is 13, which is going to be off the agenda. I asked.
Which one? 13?
13 is off the agenda. I'm going to bring that on for the 26th, most likely. I am getting comments from the engineering division, but they weren't able to, there's a lot of things that have to be addressed by the developer for the road. So I'm just going to take it off, and then I'll put it back on the calendar for the
Makes
26th.
sense.
16 as well?
Yeah. 13 is off. 13.
13 is off. Chicken Briar Hill, they just, we asked them for a yield map. This is a 4-lot subdivision with open space. We already adopted a pre-application report, so this is like kind of like a resubmission of the pre-app. The only thing is, I did ask them for a yield plan by the hearing, and they're not going to be able to supply that. I think there's also a scheduling problem as well, so they're just asking for the hearing to be rescheduled to October 10th.
So reschedule.
Yeah, that way they can get you the yield plan for the hearing.
Are we okay with October 10th and 20? With
Candace says, do you have Patty's book? Do you know how many are on?
I think we've already scheduled 2 for October 10th today.
I don't remember in the staff meeting saying that there was going to be too many things on the 10th. I know Kathleen, do you know?
Not that I recall.
2.
Mm-hmm.
2.
Yeah, there's 2 already.
Yeah.
So this would be the 3rd.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't forget.
Important, that's
Can't live
right.
life
Leash on
without a
call,
phone.
yes.
Notice that right away.
Okay, so just rescheduling to October 10th.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by
Second. Gloria.
Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. 16, Head of Pond,
Yes.
Jackie?
So they were trying to get their plans into us, but they have not gotten the
The
plans in.
16,
Oh, 16.
851. Yeah.
This is number 16, 851. So this is like the phase 2 of Dave Korowitz application. So this is for like the barns and the greenhouses. We approved the farm stand and the shed up front, which has
Right.
already been installed. So this, he's just trying to get us the revised plans for engineering and I to review before a conditional approval.
Have you
So-
seen what it looks like? Is it all right? Have you gone to the property? You said
I
they-
have. I actually, I missed, we were supposed to have a schedule because he's actually exploring possible trails
Oh,
along the edge of his property, which the Trails Advisory Board met him there. I unfortunately, my little guy got sick, so
Oh,
I
it's
wasn't able
okay.
to make it, but I'm gonna try to reschedule with him now that it's not as crazy in the summer for him. So I'll go, I mean, I have been there before, but I want to see the trails that he was.
So is this an extension?
This would be an extension. We are extending it till October 24th,
Okay.
but, and we might bring it on the agenda before then if I get the plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
24.
And pad construction, this is a ZBA referral report. So Candace, you'll be seeing this soon. So the report, actually, I have it right here. I think it was attached, but if you want a paper copy. So this is a two-lot subdivision with, it's just an existing long, narrow acre property, so it can supply the lot area, but it can't, it cannot meet the lot width requirement. They're proposing a lot width of 102.67 where 120 is required, and a lot width of 118.67 where 120 is required. So you'll see that the flag lot is essentially taking away that 15 feet from the front lot, and the front lot is shown to meet the area as well as the rear lot. I did notify the applicant's representative that we do have also a flag lot design policy that's in 292, so that they could make basically the back flag lot have the majority of the excess. And then the front lot can be the minimum of 20,000 square feet to try to meet that 1.5 times in the flag lot that we require as a design standard. But the planning board has the ability to waive that. So in this instance, just to make sure emergency access is sufficient and that the driveway can be maintained, since we do normally ask for at least 14 feet of unobstructed access, and I know some fire districts ask for more on the side, I just am recommending that a 4-foot easement be added to that 16-foot width flagpole, so that way there's a full 20 feet of access to that rear lot. And then the ZBA actually has informed me that they are also asking the applicant to reach out to the fire district as well to make sure that that is sufficient. But the applicant didn't seem to have any issue with the 4-foot access easement, which would basically give them a clean 20 feet to get back to that rear lot.
I'm having a problem just figuring out where we are. The parking lot that's here.
So you'll see
Where-
Centro, that's Centro.
Oh, this is Central, that's what I need,
Centro.
that's all I need,
And
okay.
that's North Jones Road.
Okay, so
If
that's
you're looking at
Central.
a flag lot, the rear flag lot
Okay.
will be in the back there, so there'll be 2 lots there.
Okay, no, I just didn't know what this was, that's Central.
That's
Okay,
And
that's
where's
it.
the zoning law? I mean, you're in Hampton Bays here and East Quogue here?
It's right up Jones Road.
Right up
Jones
Jones
Road
Road.
actually splits it.
Okay.
So it's East Quogue on the west side, and then it's Hampton Bays on the east side of Jones Road.
Okay. So motion to accept the
Yes, this would be
the
adopt the
referral?
report for the zoning board of
Motion
appeals.
by Dennis, second by Robin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Have we done it?
I think so.
Now walk-ons, add-ons? Okay, motion to adjourn by Dennis, second by
Second.
Robin. All in favor? See you back here at 6.
I have a quick question.